Yeah, well, this is obviously the race car version of the 488. It's the challenge, and I think externally you can see it's quite a lot different, starting with the front aerodynamics. The front package on the bonnet there is completely different. We've got the flaps here, which produce a little bit of downforce, which really help you in the high-speed corners. Then your basic things really, like rims, tyres. We've got slick tyres with this car and a single wheel nut. Can make fast pit stops and things like that. What you can't see under there is the suspension. That's quite a lot different to the road car, and that's all adjustable, so you can change the springs, the ride heights. To make it easier, like a softer spring would work better on curbs. You can change the balance of the car. You can do either front or back, you can do both, so it's fully adjustable. Going back, obviously these aren't glass, they're plastic windows, obviously for safety reasons. So these cars are obviously using completely different fuel, race fuel specifically for this engine as well. And then the biggest thing I think you can see really is the rear wing. It's fully adjustable, probably looking at it, yeah, 10 to 12 different settings. Pretty basic, to be honest, and when you've got a tight twisty track like Brands Hatch, you'd use more wing. The effect of having more downforce will give you more grip in the rear, but more drag, so you'd be slower in the straights. And then less wing, we call it minus figures, would give you much less drag, but therefore you'd suffer a lot in terms of grip. So we have a pretty fast engine in this car. It's a 670 horsepower twin turbo, 3.9 litre. So enough there to make it fun. So yeah, inside of the car, you can obviously see it's completely different to the road going version. You've got a lot of options, some being on your steering wheel here. You've got your radio button, so you can communicate with your mechanics and engineers. The two biggest things for me are the traction control 1 and 2. These just are dials which you can increase or decrease. Number 1, you can choose how much traction control you want coming out of a corner. And then number 2 is where the traction control will actually take place. So you can delay it happening. And then on the dash here, you've got things like air conditioning, because when it's raining, you need it to stop the windscreen fogging up. Your master switches and all your ignitions, your lights and your reverse button here. And then another thing, what we have to do is fuel reset. So if there's ever a failure from their side in the garage, we can give numbers back to them on the radio so we know where we are in terms of fuel. We have a camera, which is really, really useful, because as you can see here, you're strapped in quite tight and you're restricted with the mirrors, so the camera really, really helps, especially in a race situation when you're defending. We've obviously got all the safety nets, roll cages, which you definitely need in one of these cars. And then the other thing is the belts, completely different to a road car. These really hold you in tight. You have to do them up seriously tight just to stop yourself moving around. Gears, very similar to in terms of how the road car is, up and down, up on your right, down on your left, and extremely quick. I think it's 8 times quicker than you can blink your eye. So yeah, very reliable and very easy to use. Paddock Hill, well, it's one of the most famous corners. The first time you ever do Paddock, it gives you a weird feeling in your stomach because it's so steep and so cambered. It can turn from understeer to oversteer very, very quickly. To be fast at Brands, it's all about Paddock Hill, and you need to be brave to be quick. You've got a bit of time to prepare yourself because you've got the long straight going up to Paddock Hill. You approach it in 6th gear. You shift down as fast as possible to 3rd. You use a lot of the engine braking before you turn in. For your brake reference, you're looking at around the 100-metre board. It's very easy to back off too early, so it's about braking late, using all the track available on the left-hand side, and kind of having a guess moment where you turn in, because it is totally blind. Once you've found the apex, it's about getting on the throttle as quick as possible, because it's really important to maintain the speed up the hill until you do it. Turning it in is a complete guessing game. Sometimes you miss it, you know, you can understeer. If you miss it and you go onto the marbles on the outside, you can properly go off. It's not exactly a slow corner either. I think in the Ferrari Challenge, you're looking at just short of 100 mile an hour probably. So yeah, you want to make sure it's done right. You need to build up to it. I think after a few laps, you kind of subconsciously know when to turn in. As a reference, the biggest thing is braking at the 100 forward, and then normally I would say just a split second after that is the moment where you would turn in. The biggest challenge of Paddock Hill is how late you can brake and the bravery you need. If you're slightly over the limit, that's it. You're in the gravel. It's a proper corner, one of the best corners in the world, and yeah, bravery and braking late always helps.